It's 98.7 The Fan. I am the fabulous sports babe, and my good friend Larry LaRue is in the house with me. How are you, dear?
I'm doing well, babe. How are you?
I'm doing well. Listen, are you having time to play baseball? You're writing newspapers. Now I see you're writing a book, and I thought to myself, well, he's like much smarter than I am because I could never get this together. How are you?
Well, I'm together in the sense that I wrote the book, and I'm still working for a newspaper. Other than that, my life's still chaos.
It's still the chaos kind of thing. Let's talk about that. What do you think about the Mariners? They're so terrible this year, and I look at them and I don't know what to do with them at all.
You know, they are terrible, but there's hope, I guess, which is more fun to cover than a bad team that you know is not going to get any better. There's some kids on this team that will be here a while, and they're starting to play a little better. By that I mean they're a little more exciting. They're not necessarily winning, although they're on a winning streak right now. You know, but kids like Kyle Seager, Jesus Montero, and Felix, who's all of 26. You know, and so you kind of think, well, he's been around forever, but he's 26 years old. Jason Vargas, Tom Wilhelmsen, the guy who left baseball because he wanted to smoke dope, and then returned 5 years later and is now a closer. There's lots of fun stories and lots of fun kids on this team, and they'll weed out some of the others and bring in some more, and hopefully it'll be an improved product.
Well, I saw the Felix Hernandez thing, which was pretty amazing. By the time I got to the 7th, 8th, and 9th, it wasn't anti-Ray, but it was completely, I want to see him do this.
Oh, God, yeah. You remember Felix, and he's a sweetheart, probably as much now as he was when he was a goofy rookie at 19. He's a father of two, but he's 26 years old. I mean, he still loves to be the clown in the clubhouse, and he's more serious on the field. He's more in control of his emotions, and he's just a darn good pitcher. I mean, he's a Cy Young candidate who's going to win 14 or 15 games because he plays in Seattle.
Good for him on that one. You know what? Let's talk about Major League Encounters. Is this your very first book?
It's my very first book that's been published.
Well, I have to tell you something. First of all, it's my kind of place because I don't have to read like 20 chapters. I just read one, and there I am. And then I turn the next page, and there's another one. I said, this is perfect for me.
Well, it was perfect for my set of the way I read things, too, sometimes. I like stories about people, and that's what I'm trying to tell in this thing. They just happen to be major league players or characters, in the game somehow, and they're all relatively short, and then you're done with that one. And I've had lots of people tell me they read a chapter a night. Other people tell me they can't stand it. It's like popcorn or potato chips. They just keep reading. I had a lot of fun writing it. And I started it, as a thing when I was doing it in a notebook for my daughter. I thought, well, someday she'll want to know all about these people. And, of course, you'd tell yourself that, but it's really, you just want to pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
So I started it, and then a friend of mine started a publishing company, readerpublishing.com, and we got going. We decided let's make a book of it.
Is that it? Now, can you get it somewhere, or do you have to go to Readers Publishing to get it?
You don't have to go to Readers Publishing, although it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah.
But, Amazon.com or BarnesandNobles.com.
Yeah.
And those are the two places that we put it. What I decided, when we talked to different, printers and publishers and all that stuff, was not to put it in book form out there at Costco and stuff, because at some point they're all going to wind up in a 25-cent bin. This way, if you want it, you order it, we print it, we send it to you. It's pretty simple.
It's a pretty easy. I'm talking to my good friend Larry LaRue. He has a new book out that's called Major League Encounters, 100 Personal Stories of the select group of men who he has made their living through playing the game, and it happens to be all about Major League Baseball, which he's been covering for some time. One of the first people I wanted to look at was Omar Vizquel. I still love him, I'm still crazy for him.
He's impossible not to love. He's a charming guy off the field. He's a sweetheart on the field. When he makes a great play, he smiles. There's no macho there. He's just a wonderful player who loves the game and likes people. And I think he's had a real hard time leaving because he can still play the field. He can still hit. he's not an everyday player anymore because there are younger, stronger, faster people. But he's awfully good, at age 40.
Did you love Tony? Did you like? I guess the way to say it is, did you like Piniella the most? That's probably one of her. Did you like him most?
As a manager, I grew to really respect what he did. But as a human being, he was like something out of Damon Runyon. I mean, he was just almost unreal. He had funny stories he would tell about other people, but his funniest stories were about himself. And he was just a character. One of those guys who made you laugh, made you smile. He could break your heart with a sad story. I mean, he was just such a caring guy. And all that was wrapped up in this love of victory. He just had to win, for the team, for the franchise, for the fans, but for himself. He wanted to win. He was driven to it, and it was a fascinating guy.
He was a fascinating guy. My friend Larry LaRue is on the phone, and we're talking about his new book, which is called Major League Encounters, 100 Personal Stories of a Select Group of Men who have made their living playing this game. We're all listening, by the way, on the Hooters hotline on the Fabulous Sports Babe Show on 98.7 The Fan. One of the things that I thought about this, I told you this is my favorite thing because I can sit down and read it. It's not like I have to wait through 20 pages of anything. So this is my favorite kind of thing, and please make more of these. Have they said to you, did you start writing this as you said to your daughter, and then they said expand it more? Is that how you made it?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. I had about 20 chapters done over a couple years. I was in no rush. I was just kind of, I'd think about a guy and I'd write something about him, and then I'd, put it in the notebook for my daughter. And when my friend George was looking for a book to publish, he found the notebook because we're friends. He was up here. And he said, "I got to have this. Let's do 100." And I thought, well, it's taken me 2 years to do 20, but I got them done a lot faster. When I actually sat down and just started working.
I was looking through here. Did you miss the babe part in here?
I did.
I thought you must have, and I said that must be for the second right, for the next one that he's going to do on that. What's the best guy or the worst guy you ever covered? And I think a Junior only because of everything that took place in getting the new Safeway, and then all of a sudden he wasn't there anymore, and everything changed for him.
Junior and I have a history that I'll never forget. I think he's forgotten it pretty quickly. But he is the best player I ever covered. Over an extended period of time, 10 years, I got to see him in his absolute prime, and he was as good as anybody I ever saw. And he was just. Everything he did was as good as everything you imagined. I mean, his defense in center field, he was absolutely fearless, and he was fast, and just a lot of fun to watch cover. You'd be watching the flight of a ball that you knew was a double, and then he'd kind of flash into your eyesight and catch it. Offensively, he was a beast. In his mid-90s. In the mid-90s when he was hitting 56 home runs. He is. The funniest guy, he could also be the most stubborn. He could drive you absolutely crazy. I know you dealt with him many times,
sure.
And I know, you saw all the different sides of Junior. He was never mean-spirited, but he could drive you insane nonetheless. And then at the very end of his career, I'm the one who wrote, that he was sleeping in the clubhouse, when I was told that it was true.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the lead of a story. It was a story about how Junior had reached the point where the Mariners – and he had to part company. He was, at a stage in his career where he wasn't playing. He wasn't productive anymore. And I think in his heart he'd kind of given up the ghost a little bit. And, when he was asleep in the clubhouse in the seventh inning of a game, it just kind of told me that, he wasn't there anymore. He wasn't the club leader, obviously, because he wasn't even with the club.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended our relationship. I mean, Junior works for the Mariners. We've run across each other a couple times since, but we don't speak. And that broke my heart, and, he's a special guy, certainly a different personality. And it was a joy to cover him, and I'm sorry the way it ended, but, I did my job.
Well, and that's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
It was hard, but it was.
But, in baseball, you usually don't come across a story that's going to make a player so mad. But that one did.
I can imagine that it does. Larry, did you love doing this and having a real live book and everything?
I did, and I do. It's fun to have people, talk to you about this chapter or that chapter, or come up and say, I really thought this person was a great person, a great guy, and when I read about him, that's what I hoped he was like. I get a kick out of that.
One of the things, I'll let you go, because one time I was going up an elevator and I was in Seattle. And Buckner was there, and I couldn't help myself, and I just waited and waited till I got off the elevator, and as I turned the corner, I said, an error by Buckner. So I kept on going. I thought, am I ever going to get over that?
Well, most folks in Boston got over it enough to applaud him when he came back and threw out the first pitch one year, and that was a very emotional time for him. And probably for Bostonians, because you have to move on at some point and forgive. And Bill Buckner, is a name that you mentioned, and Red Sox fans kind of clinch up. Mm-hmm. but a lot of them have forgiven him now.
I love talking with you. It's called Major League Encounters, 100 Personal Stories of a Select Group of Men Who Make Their Living Playing a Game. It's Larry LaRue, and you can get it at, you can look at Readers, but you can look at Amazon and Barnes & Nobles, too. You can get it at Readers Publishing Group, or you can also get it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, babe, love you.
Love you. I really appreciate it. I am the fabulous sports babe, and it happens to be 98.7 The Fan. 98.7